Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Welcome into the NFL opening line report for April 18th. I am Drew Martin, joined by Teddy Covers. I say NFL because it's usually NFL, but it's not NFL season. It's USFL season. We'll hit the USFL, the new football league, at the top. Also look at the NFL draft on today's show, $9 Monday. Teddy Covers, like always, buddy. Good to see you to start the week out. Happy Monday morning to you.
Happy Monday, Drew. And off the inaugural weekend of USFL action, we can talk about some initial football thoughts. As you mentioned, we're going to go through some NFL draft talk. And whatever questions you guys have, throw them out in the chat. We'll do our best to answer. We'll see if we talk a little NBA as well. But let's get rolling, my friend. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Good holiday weekend. Hopefully everybody out there enjoyed it. Friends, family, Easter, Passover, whatever you were celebrating. Hopefully some winners were yours. Actually, Teddy, it was a down weekend to start for me. And then Sunday got a winner. So I feel like tonight's action, get another winner in USFL. What were your overall thoughts, man? I mean, we've had 3 games in the book. We actually got one tonight because last night's game was postponed. So week 1, we're 3/4 of the way through. Just off the top of your head, impressed, kind of mediocre? What'd you think?
Well, what did we expect? There was one thing we talked about from the USFL that we were looking for week 1, and that's week 1 unders. Both games yesterday, relatively low scoring affair. The Gamblers beat the Panthers 17-12. The Breakers beat the Stars 23-17. The one game on Saturday, the exciting game, where Birmingham rallied from behind to beat New Jersey, scoring on the touchdowns in the last 3 possessions. That, too, was looking like an under before that late explosion from Birmingham, with both teams, going back and forth up and down the field in that fourth quarter. That turned a low-scoring affair into the only overcash of the weekend. But the bottom line is what we expected. Defenses ahead of offenses. That was on display this weekend, Drew. The other thing that stood out to me is, where do you find the stats, man? This has been a problem for many of the spring football leagues in recent years. They're not on your apps. They're not on the ESPN. Like looking around for the stats and the scores, if you're not watching the game for these minor football leagues, it'd be difficult to do. What about you? What were your takeaways? Who'd you like?
Teddy, I liked it, man. I just thought from a fan experience standpoint, watching the game on TV, the microphones, hearing the coaches interact with the players, calling the plays, like it brought me into the game. I felt like the viewing experience was even better than the NFL is. I really believe that. Like, I think the NFL needs to watch this and bring some of this into their product. Now, some things I worry about, though, is because cheating can become involved. Like if you're listening to the play call, I was sitting there with my mom on Easter weekend and it's like, oh, 22 rocket. I'm like, all right, mom, that's in the 2-hole, the 2 back through the 2-hole, like explaining it to her. Like, and I would get them right. Now, granted, some of them I would get wrong, Teddy, but the defense could be doing that as well. I'm almost wondering, are they on like a 10-20 second delay of what we're watching? Do you know any of that? Because if like the NFL did bring that in, I'm sure that eventually like cheating is going to become prevalent in the sport.
Sure, but by the time the data comes up from the camera into the satellite and goes to your house, you're 10 seconds behind. You're 15 seconds behind.
That's what I was
so
thinking.
It's not like that said, if they have a different feed at the stadium, they might be able to get better info. But given the nature of the league, a startup league, I don't know. They have that's where these fledgling franchises are going to spend their money. Is all right. Let's get the technology so we're beating so we can get the opponent's play call 2 seconds ahead of time. I'm not convinced it's at that level yet. And there is a legitimate delay that you don't think about, not just from the East Coast to the West Coast or where you're watching via satellite, but by the time the data goes up gets sent out and gets downloaded back down. There is, 5-10 seconds on any game. If you're talking to someone live at the game and you're watching it on TV, you're always behind.
Teddy, a few other things I took out. You would hear him say like, let's say, I remember one of them was like 24. I think it was like 24 switch or something like that, and they would run it to the right, and then they would just run it again to the left. Like same play on the right, same play on the left, like 2 or 3 plays later. And it was cool to see that because I can remember back, playing high school football. And I know we have a lot of like high school football coaches that watch this show. Shout out to you guys reaching out on Twitter at Teddy_covers, at Drew Martin Betts. But Teddy, like if you have success running a play, just run that play again in a different formation, like the other way. And it's cool to see, like, even in professional football, they do that stuff. And that was just kind of funny for me to see, just kind of running the same play again. And another thing, the rules, especially in that first game, I think it came to, it kind of bubbled to the top a little bit. Some of these rules really help the offense, particularly time-wise. That 2-minute warning, which they do have, and then they stop the clock with first downs. They're trying to help the offense. So I'm with you. Look unders. I mean, I bet it's the only way I bet the totals is to the unders in the opening weekend. But as the offenses get better, I think some of these rules help out the offense more than a lot of people realize. Definitely a lot more than the NFL does, Teddy, time-wise, towards the end of the first half and towards the end of the game. So if these offenses start getting on the same page as the defenses, which I do agree with you, the defenses were ahead of the offenses, which can kind of come to expect in really all forms of football, whether it be high school, college, the NFL. When you early in the season, a lot of times, particularly when the offense is changing what they're doing schematically and the quarterbacks need to learn that's where you really see kind of some hesitancy and the offense does not perform as well. And that's what we saw in the USFL. So Teddy, until further notice, I'm going to look unders, man, whether it be tonight, next weekend, betting totals wise, that's going to be my first look. But, yeah, man, I don't know. That's just some more things that I kind of took away before we get into opening line report style here. You got anything else to throw out?
Well, the irony is that the best quarterback of the weekend, was Jamar Smith, the kid out of Louisiana Tech. He played for the Hamilton Tiger Cats up in college. The
Great
best
point.
QB of the weekend didn't win the starting job and came in cold off the bench after the starter got hurt and the defense wasn't prepped for him, and he got hot in the fourth quarter and boom, 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 touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. So the number one thing that I'm looking for in early season USFL, find me a quarterback that can make some plays. Find me a quarterback that can make plays in an offense that's just being learned. And when you have a backup QB that can come in and make plays, maybe Smith is a guy to keep your eye on. And Birmingham, a team to keep your eye on. They have clearly found something at the quarterback position that I'm not convinced any other team has found just yet.
And Teddy, to add on to that, what do they have in common? What I think his name's J.R. Smith or something Smith, and he went to Louisiana Tech. Sure enough, his coach is Skip Holtz, so he knew the system. I mean, at least he's not too far removed from knowing the system. So when we talk about the schematics, having to learn it, that situation came into effect in that game. I wish I would have known that coming in because he was the backup quarterback. Man, that would have been a huge bet on. But great point, Teddy.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking for, QBs who can make plays. If we can find a QB that can make plays, that's going to be a bet on team in this league. Certainly. And again, I'm not worried about a month from now. I'm worried about next week. And next week, Drew says, long term, we're going to look at overs in this league. But right now, let's look at unders. And I'm like, hey, let's look at a team with a QB that can play. We found one so far. Maybe we'll find another one tonight.
Yeah,
and rain out. What do you think of the game being rained out yesterday?
I'm fine with it.
The makeup today.
I'm fine with it. It was interesting that, Saturday night, it was a packed house. It looked like great atmosphere. A lot of people having fun in that stadium in Birmingham. And then sure enough, on Sunday during the day, there was like nobody in the stands. I mean, granted, it's Easter in the South. Like, I don't know what they were really thinking putting the games on that day. I mean, not a lot of people showing up, but now it's Monday night. I don't know if we'll get another like kind of raucous atmosphere there in Birmingham. That's kind of something to watch. We do have Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh seeing -6. This is the highest line we've seen in week 1 here. Most of the lines right around a field goal, Teddy. 41.5. That's kind of in line with what the totals have been, low 40s overall. So we do have Monday Night Football, and talking about, what you were bringing up there. How do I feel about the postponement? I'm totally fine with it. I mean, what does it really matter? It's prime time on a Monday night. That's what you're pushing it to. So it doesn't really bother me. We got something to bet tonight, man. But interested in your thoughts on that, and if you got anything on the game.
Oh yeah, I haven't done. I didn't do anything. The only thing I would look at is an under for night.
Yeah.
But in terms of like a hardcore handicap, I haven't done it. We're letting a week or two come into the books before we go nuts. Nonetheless, we're certainly going to consider any under on the board right now. And if the field is sloppy, it's certainly not going to hurt in that regard. And the field may well be sloppy off of yesterday's rain.
And Teddy, what about kind of coming into week 2? I know the hardcore handicap, like you talked about. Do you want to hit this opening line report style, or just kind of go maybe a little bit more Blimps view here, because we got a Friday night game, 2 on Saturday, and then 1 on Sunday. I kind of like how they spread it out a little bit more CFL go at it rather than that NFL loaded up, 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock Eastern on Sunday. They're going more spread out style, which I like as a fan.
Sure. And look, I can't look you in the eye and say, I can tell you which way these lines are going to move.
Okay.
In the NFL, I can do that. In the USFL, I can't. Not yet, anyway.
Yeah.
Give me a week or two. In which case, a true proper opening line report is not appropriate here, because I can't give you guys advice as to whether to bet it now or to wait. So let's go through the openers. Let's run through them.
Yeah, sure. And actually, the openers aren't even up yet. I don't know if you've noted, like Fox Bet opened the opening weekend numbers for USFL, but I have not seen week 2 USFL lines. And I'm looking at the WagerTalk odds screen right now.
I got numbers up. I got a couple. Okay. I got the New Jersey Generals -143.5 against the Michigan Panthers. That's the Friday night game, and that is a line at circa right now. It's the only book that has a line on that game. I'm not seeing anything for Pittsburgh, the Maulers against the Philadelphia Stars in the early game on Saturday. The late game on Saturday, again, the circa number, 3.5, Birmingham as a favorite, a total of 42. And I haven't seen any lines for the Breakers against the Bandits, New Orleans on Tampa, for next Sunday. So 2 of the 4 games have at least one book with a line. There's another offshore book that is posted as well. But I've got Jersey 1-43.5 over Michigan, and I've got Birmingham 3.5 and 42 over Houston.
Teddy, one thing I would take away from that, the Philadelphia Stars, I don't know if they were all that great. I mean, New Orleans, I feel like, was the better team. Larry Fedora kind of coaching them up there. Also something, I saw a little tidbit. Kelly in Vegas actually sent this to a group chat I'm in, and it brought in the handicapping aspect of what these spring leagues, whether it be, the AAFL or whatever it was in the XFL in recent years, there's been a trend of offensive-minded coaches, whether it be Steve Spurrier, just guys that are really offensively creative in the past, have had success in these new leagues. So I'm starting to look towards, Todd Haley, what Larry Fedora, that Southern Miss team, they were throwing it around, really good offense. Those type of coaches might be bet on. We saw it with New Orleans. Do you think there's anything to that, Teddy, in terms of just kind of attacking the card, at least early on, betting on these offensively creative minds at the head coaching position?
So in a league like this, coaching certainly matters. All right. You have a well-coached team. You have a team with some unique offensive game plans. You have some unique play designs with some creative thought processes. Those are likely to be bet on teams. But at the same time, everybody's just learning an offense here. So even with the very creative offensive head coaches, they'll all tell you it's not the year one where we get into great creativity. It's not week 1 where you're able to do all these. It's mid-season, late season, next year, 2 years in, 3 years in, that you get to do all the cool stuff with these unique creative offenses. So I'm not convinced early on that it's going to be a huge edge, because it takes time to develop these, the comfort level, even in a creative offense.
Okay. And Teddy, we got a bunch of guys in the chat box joining us. Lauren Williams, what is up? Joey as well. We got Joey saying, yeah, in NFL stadiums, TVs get the feed from the broadcast directly, so there's no delay on a TV. You can watch while buying a beer. I have noticed that, Teddy. Like if you're at an NFL stadium and you go to the concessions, it's right in line with like when the crowd cheers, the play happens. So that's in the stadium. I don't know what that would mean for the TV broadcast, though, with the NFL, but that's something to keep in mind. Thanks for that, Joey. We got DMD24 saying, Drew and Teddy, what's up? I didn't watch any, but getting y'all takes on it is great. Drew liking it has me to where I'll check it out. So doing a little marketing here for the USFL, like it 24, and Lauren Williams in the house. She's going to, or he's going to bet 4 futures, 2 from each conference. So thank you for joining us. If you're watching on replay, feel free to reply below. If you like the USFL week 1 and what you took away and how you're looking to bet it in week 2, get it out here on the show next week. We also got NFL draft we want to hit. Of course, we'll be able to hit it next week. I think we got 8, 9, 10 days until the draft here, Teddy, but did want to take a look ahead. Did you want to throw out anything else in USFL before we get to the NFL draft?
Yeah, Jeff, weekend started, Thursday the 28th here in Vegas.
Okay.
And I think I'll be down on the Strip that night. I know there's people in town. I'm going to have to go out and schmooze a little bit, so that should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. But that's still 10 days away, so we'll talk more. But honestly, it's not like right now. The best bets in the NFL draft were there a month ago. Giannis, Greek gambler. Put out, I think it was Trayvon Walker at plus 2,000 to be the first overall pick taken, a month ago. Now he's plus 160. So we've seen the best bets get eaten up. And at this stage of the draft process, oftentimes it's about betting against the overreaction. That's a fascinating scenario for me. But let's go through some of these. And so, again, it's not like there won't be anything next Monday. But if you're betting the NFL draft seriously, every day you're going through these numbers. Every day you're looking for where the markets are moving. As the info comes, you got to strike as soon as you see it, because it may not even be there 15 minutes later.
Well, Teddy, let's go over some right now. NFL draft props. First QB, we got Malik Willis minus 165. So you're having to risk 165 to win 100 here, guys. On Malik Willis, we got Kenny Pickett plus 130, Matt Corral plus 1,000, Desmond Ridder also at plus 1,000, and Sam Howell at plus 5,000. Teddy, look, I like Kenny Pickett. I like Matt Corral here. I'm not a huge fan of betting these where there's like 5 selections and you get plus prices, at least on 4 of them, just because the VIG usually is higher, guys. I like more matchup, which I would like to find Kenny Pickett over Malik Willis at a plus price, even Matt Corral over Malik Willis at a huge plus price in that one. But if you did need to bet this, because this is kind of widely available out there right now so far from the NFL draft, but I would maybe take a look here. If you need a bet for the NFL draft, Kenny Pickett at plus 130, Matt Corral at plus 1,000. And the reason being, Teddy, I've watched a lot of Malik Willis. Good athlete, good quarterback in college. He's not Lamar Jackson. When people kind of compare that, he's not Lamar Jackson. I mean, what Baltimore Ravens do offensively can win. It could win the Super Bowl. I think that can happen. So if a team wants to go after that, the only problem is it's just he's not the athlete as that. He's not the athlete as their backup quarterback, the kid from Utah that's very good as well. So I don't think a lot of people realize that. Plus, when you look at Malik Willis, what he did with Liberty, a heck of an offensive system in college football. Look at who they played: Campbell, Troy, Old Dominion, Syracuse, UAB, Middle Tennessee, Louisiana Monroe, who they lost to, North Texas, UMass, Ole Miss, Louisiana Army. I mean, outside of Louisiana and Ole Miss, there's not quality defenses there, and it's not like he lit it up. And I'm telling you this, Teddy, he'll make highlight throws. Like if you watch his highlight tape, it's really good. It's really sexy. However, the next throw would be like at the guy's feet, on like a 10-yard out or something. So the consistency isn't there. I've had some success kind of projecting quarterbacks in the past Teddy, I don't see him as a long-time starting quarterback in the NFL. I really don't. The other guys, I think, are kind of toss-ups here. I think Kenny Pickett, if I'm projecting Kenny Pickett out, I see him as, a guy that's a long-term backup quarterback in the NFL. He's going to make a ton of money. He's decent as an NFL quarterback. Matt Corral's a little bit more volatile. I'm not really sure coming out of the Lane Kiffin kind of system. How much did that add in? He's a guy that can make plays with his feet as well, similar to Malik Willis. I don't know, Teddy. I just think Malik Willis is getting a little bit too much kind of NFL draft preparation looks. And I think the market's kind of running with this way too much, man. So I would look towards Kenny Pickett or Matt Corral at huge plus prices, or at least Corral at a huge plus price. Kenny Pickett at plus 130 to be the first quarterback selected. That's the one I like at the top, Teddy. Anything on quarterbacks?
So I like to agree with you. In this instance, I don't.
Okay. So what makes a market?
It's not about our opinion of the quarterback. It's about the teams at the top of the draft or in the middle of the draft. Because, look, let's be real. There are 0 NFL starting quarterbacks in this year's draft. Okay. And the league's going to find that out. And whoever takes quarterback in the first round, somewhere down the line will be disappointed. 0. Kenny Pickett's not an NFL starting quarterback. Matt Corral's not an NFL starting quarterback. Sam Howell is not an NFL starting quarterback. And I don't think Malik Willis is either. That being said, when there's nobody who's an NFL starting quarterback behind them, there's no one there, there's no guy that, all right, we're going to take a reach. We're going to reach for this guy. That means the favorite's likely to go in. The favorite's likely to get picked. I don't know if he's going to go to Carolina at 6. I have no idea. And, of course, one of the things we often see is teams that want the QB make the move up to get their guy. And I just think Willis is the favorite for a reason because all of the other guys are flawed even more than Malik Willis. So I do, he's a favorite here for a reason. I think he'll be the first QB taken. But again, on a list of big make, minus 165 with Willis to be the guy, no. That's not the value I'm looking for.
Okay, good point there. And did you just kind of throw out that pick of 6? Because as we get closer to the NFL draft, we're going to have Malik Willis draft position. I mean, if it's 6, I'm going to hammer that under, Teddy. I mean, would you disagree with that? Yeah. He won't go 6th or before is what I mean betting. Because you're talking about, I mean, I don't think any of these guys are going to be long-term starters in the NFL either. And when you start talking about a 6th pick, I mean, what kind of defensive lineman or offensive lineman can you get with the 6th pick overall? A really good one.
Sure. A lot more than you can compare to what you're going to get from Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett. Yes.
Right.
But Carolina is one of the teams who drafts 6 who's being bandied about as a team in need of a quarterback. That's just why I brought up that particular draft selection. I would, I was reading something that if Carolina is going to take Willis, they'll trade back in the draft and trade that 6th pick and try to get, move down to acquire additional draft capital because they don't have 2s or 3s this year. That's a good move for that franchise. Yeah, they don't need any depth. Yes, I'm joking. Carolina's holes everywhere. But I wouldn't be shocked to see the number be a lot higher than 6 for Willis. I'll just leave it at that, just because, and again, with the trade piece of the equation, I mean, how many teams are really looking for QBs right now? Normally at the top of the draft, everyone's looking for a QB, and that's not necessarily the case this year.
Okay, and actually, I'm pulling it up on one of the global sports books right now. Malik Willis draft position over under 9.5. So it is a little bit further down, Teddy, but I don't know. I still like it over. I don't think he goes top 10. Do you?
9.5 is a good number. If I had to play it, I'd probably look over. But 9.5 is a good number. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, Teddy. I like it. I like it in your live opinion here, thinking about it on air. I know the watchers out there do as well. Thanks for watching us, guys. Opening line report style each and every Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, at Drew Martin Bets on Twitter, at Teddy_covers on Twitter. Let us know what topics you want us to hit in the off-season opening line report, and feel free to reply below, guys, on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. We got first overall selection Adrian Hutchinson minus 190 here, Teddy. Market telling us something. Trayvon Walker at plus 160. Evan Neal plus 1,400. Couple at Malik Willis plus 2,800. Kenny Pickett plus 6,600 to go first overall. Adrian Hutchinson, you're the Michigan guy, minus 190. What are you thinking here, first overall selection?
1, I think Hutch is worth it. 2, I think Walker's live. It'll either be Hutchinson or Walker. And, right now you can see that price into the number pretty clearly. And again, Walker was 20-1 to go first overall a month ago. Not anymore. One of those two guys will be the first overall pick. That's not a bet I'm going to make. First RB is one you might want to make, though.
Yeah, let's get after it. First running back, Breece Hall, minus 300 to go first. Kenneth Walker III. I think this one's sleeper, Teddy, plus 225. First running back overall, and then Isaiah Spiller rounding it out. Only 3 choices, plus 1,000, at least at this book. So minus 300, Breece Hall, and we got Kenneth Walker, plus 225. I got that one circled, Teddy. I haven't fired away. What are you thinking here?
I think the chalk is a lock. There are no locks. I think Hall's going to be the only running back that's going to have a chance to get taken. And again, Walker put up monster numbers at Michigan State. I don't know that he didn't have the combine Hall had. I don't know that he has the skill set Hall has. I think Hall's going to be that first RB taken. I don't think it's going to be close. I take Hall minus 10 picks over Walker or Spiller or whoever else.
Okay, fair enough. And what about some of these kind of conferences? These are a little bit more difficult to handicap, Teddy, but kind of interesting talking points. ACC over under 4.5 players. We got the Big Ten over under 6.5 players. And of course, these are players selected in the first round, guys, by conference. Big Ten 6.5. We got Pac-12 Conference of Champions 4.5. Minus 160 on the under, by the way. And the SEC at 10.5 players. Over minus 135, 10.5, Teddy. I'm an SEC guy, and I kind of think that might be under at plus money look. What are you thinking here with the conferences? They're kind of fun to talk about, man.
They're fun to talk about. It's not an easy handicap, and when you add them up, of course, you're talking about 4.5 from the ACC, 6.5 from the Big Ten. That's 11. You got 4.5 from the Pac-12, 15.5, 10.5 from the SEC. So now you're at 26. And we haven't gotten to the Big 12. We haven't gotten to any of the smaller conferences. If you blindly play them all under, you may make some money because there's inherent value on that side. People want to play over. And certainly fans of if you look at the juice, over ACC players in the first round, minus 135. Over Big Ten players, minus 125. Over Pac-12 players, minus 165. Over SEC players, minus 135. Everyone's betting over on this stuff, which tells us from a value standpoint, there's value on the under. I don't know if you want to play them, but when every conference is juiced to the over, it's telling you all you need to know. That's already been bet. Now it's time to look the other way.
Yeah, it's interesting how they only put up the 4 conferences, like the Big 12, like you talked about. AAC, they're not like really going out there because it is a difficult handicap. If I'm an odds maker, I don't know that I'd feel too confident in putting out my number in terms of conference, how they're going out there. And Teddy, another thing, because I was doing a couple hours last night of research, and I'm going through and I'm like looking at these conferences and I'm going through the mock drafts out there. And I'm just like, okay, SEC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, counting it up. I don't think they're going to get to 10.5. That's me personally. But as I'm looking at these different mock drafts, one thought that comes through is how many of these guys out there that are so-called like experts, some of them I think are good, like Todd McShay, but a lot of these other guys, I have no idea who they are. I actually think they look at another guy's mock draft and then just make theirs very similar to theirs and then just change 1 or 2 at the bottom. Like, do you think that's happening? Or do you think all of these guys are really doing legit research and coming out with their own like opening mock drafts? Or do you think they're kind of copycatting off of other guys?
Oh, I'm taking the under on number of guys that are actually, Todd McShay is a guy that has contacts all around the league. Mel Kiper's a guy that has contacts everywhere. You read a mock draft from one of those guys and it's at least based on something. All right. You find some of these guys from the secondary sites, some intern sitting there, I'm an expert on the NFL draft. Yeah, they're reading somebody else. They're not actually talking to GMs. are getting the buzz around the league. And then in 2022, okay, there's an enormous market out there for content. And one thing that I've noticed that's very clear, doesn't matter if it's good content or bad content, doesn't matter if it says meaning in any way. It's just, we need content. Doesn't matter what site you are, we need content. So they pay people, give them content, and fairly easy to pay people very little, to pay no-name people very little to give you cheap content. That's what you're going to find out there. And I'm not impressed with the overall state of the mainstream broadcast market when it comes to sports betting analysis. That's why we do our own shows here on WagerTalk TV. They're a lot better than what you're going to find elsewhere, in my opinion.
Absolutely, Teddy. That's well said, guys. I mean, Teddy probably sees this. I see it in my Twitters. It's just like people come in like, hey, $50 for this, $100 for this. And sometimes, Teddy, like one site out there was like, hey, we'll pay you $50 for I'm like, my minimum's 100. They come back, they're like, hey, yeah, we'll pay you 100 for this article. I'm like, I was just kind of joking. Like, I'm not going to I'm not going to do that. And, but like you said, like WagerTalk, you want to sit with, or you want to kind of keep going back to sites you trust, and you're getting good content, not just some guy getting paid, $100 to throw up a mock draft article that he's copying off of other guys. You want people that actually know what they're talking about. And get your information there, because in sports betting, and look, the NFL draft is sports betting. Let's not, kind of make it what it isn't. It's about information. Information is key. The only kind of caveat to that, Teddy, is it's got to be good information. You got to watch where you're filling your head with the news, because sometimes, it happens to me preparing for college football and college basketball. I do a ton of preseason research, Teddy, and sometimes you'll get bad information. You'll get like, hey, this quarterback's really throwing it around, really doing good. And it's really propping up the program, the information, but it's not the truth. And that stuff kind of is the difference between wins and losses. And I've had to learn the hard way, Teddy, in years past. So, good information is key, man. And I know that you're somebody that knows that as well.
Sure. And one of the things early in the season, particularly for any sport, I had a mantra, and I think it's worth repeating here. That's believe what you see, not what you read.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to read a lot in the offseason about all kinds of different teams. And in general, hope springs eternal. You're going to get you're going to find stuff from fans. Fans are always optimistic. We're going to be great. You're going to find stuff from beat writers, at the beginning of the season. Oh yeah, this team's way improved. You don't find a lot of negatives when you're doing your off-season research. You got to create your own negatives. You got to find your own. Hey, let's read between the line here. Hey, the defense coordinator said this about the defense, which means he didn't say that about the defense. Every team is optimistic. Every projection is optimistic, et cetera, et cetera. When you talk about the local guys, because that's where their bread is buttered. You're working for the Dallas Morning News, your bread is buttered in Dallas.
Right.
Which is different from the national guys, and which is different from the, let's get paid $50 or $100 to write an article, guys. And there's lots and lots of those out there right now, as you well know.
Absolutely. So well said, Teddy. NFL draft here, guys. We're going to be breaking it down more in depth next Monday, getting you ready for week of the NFL draft. Also have more on the USFL as we kind of hone in here. And just being honest, it's tough to do an opening line report on USFL for week 2, just getting to know these two teams and really the market just coming out. So projecting where the lines are going. We'll get better at it next week. I'm going to go on record here, Teddy, say next week, I'm ready to rock. I'll do a true opening line report on USFL. I'll project where these sides, more important, where the totals are going for me. So
we're gonna switch seats for that. I'll throw them to you, and then you give me the opening lines. I'm looking for that. Should be a lot of fun, Drew. I'm looking forward to that.
All right.
But of course, every Monday right here on the WagerTalk TV YouTube channel, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 for you guys, 1 p.m. you guys back.
Absolutely. And we also got the USFL show on the WagerTalk YouTube channel on Thursdays, 3 o'clock. So if you're interested in the new league, we got you covered here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Teddy covers Drew Martin. Teddy, did you want to throw out anything else before we shut this down, man?
Was there anything else in the chat that we any questions from the chat that we because we haven't gone through it, but let's check real quick.
We hit
I
a couple
apologize.
of them,
I know
but
some guys.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing I was going to say is I appreciate, we get questions on Twitter as well. You can follow me on Twitter at Teddy_covers. You can follow Drew on Twitter at DrewMartinBets. And if you throw us the questions in Twitter during the week, we'll do our best to answer them next Monday as well.
We got S.Warrior saying Teddy, he's a big fan. We got Jay saying ESPN guys get paid by agents to promote their clients more. That's true. Agents a big part of it. And then I guess we got a little bit of shade here, although, hey, shade's welcome as well. Toby saying it's always fascinating to me when people claim, quote unquote, not a starting NFL quarterback, end quote. Like, what actually does that mean? Brad Johnson did enough to win a Super Bowl. So what are we even talking about? Interesting. I mean, it's fair criticism, I guess. Teddy, do you anything there in terms of saying not a starting NFL quarterback?
I don't think there's any of them that are starting NFL quarterbacks. Brad Johnson was a Super Bowl winner, and he was an okay quarterback. He wasn't a bottom tier quarterback. I'm not convinced there's any QB out of this draft that's going to be anything but a bottom tier QB as a starter. Johnson was okay. He was good enough to win a Super Bowl. He was good enough to get it, to avoid the mistakes and get his team there. We've seen, Trent Dilfer has a Super Bowl ring. It doesn't necessarily take elite QB play, but you can't have bad QB play. You can't have a QB that makes mistakes. I'm not convinced any of the QBs out of this draft are going to be able to avoid bad quarterback play at some point.
Yeah, no, well said, Teddy. Yeah, totally, Toby. That stuff's welcome. And to tell you the truth, that's fair criticism. I just feel like what Teddy said has a lot of, legitimacy to it in terms of like Brad Johnson, Florida State. And like Teddy talked about, he was a decent NFL quarterback that rode a good defense to a Super Bowl championship. Trent Dilfer kind of did that same type of profile. I mean, actually, Trent Dilfer, Fresno State, he was really good. And you could almost see it on ESPN in terms of how he would break down the defenses. He knew what he was talking about. He was an intellectual quarterback, very kind of head smart. Maybe his talent on the field wasn't top notch, but I thought Trent Dilfer was at least a decent starting quarterback in the NFL. And like Teddy's talking about, I really don't project any. I think maybe Kenny Pickett has that in him, but all the rest of the guys, I mean, Matt Corral might be a huge volatility guy. And if you get it at the top of the volatility, he might kind of break out, because of the mobility he brings, and he is pretty accurate. So he might have a shot. That's why I think there's a chance at taking both of these two guys at huge plus prices to be the first quarterback, because all it takes is one GM to see that and we win our bet. But at the same time, I mean, like to Teddy's point, Malik Willis is going off at the favorite for a reason. But Teddy, sorry to kind of overtake that, man. Any final words here?
Oh, no. The only thing I was going to say there was that, we don't want to you don't want to over worry this stuff. You don't want to overthink this stuff. When a bet stands out in terms of draft position, in terms of runner number or where a guy's going to get picked, you make it. But in a lot of these instances, especially at this stage of the process, when you're searching for fine line, there's a little bit here, there's a little bit of value there. Those aren't the bets I want to make. I want to make the bets that are jumping off the page at you when it comes to betting the draft. The bets that, all right, this is a bad number. Yeah, this number might have been good a month ago. It's not good now. That's what I'm looking for. It's not about little edges. I want the big edges when I'm betting the NFL draft. That's my number one goal. And in terms of projecting QBs, Drew, that's the last thing I'm going to say. I'm wrong. You're wrong. Mel Kiper's wrong. Todd McShay's wrong. The guys who study quarterbacks all day are wrong. Even the guys that all they do is study quarterbacks all day. You go back and read some of the stuff from the last year, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. This guy's going to be great. That guy's going to stink. They're all wrong. Okay. All of them. All the projections are wrong. All the thought process, with the exception of maybe like a Peyton Manning or an Andrew Luck. I mean, look, Eli won 2 rings. Eli was a corpse on the field for half his career. Yeah, you can win titles with mediocre quarterbacks as long as everything else plays right for you and guys can catch balls off their helmet in the Super Bowl.
Eli Manning, one of the best. Peyton
Manning,
Manning,
2 rings. The worst 2-ring quarterback in NFL history.
I don't even know who I would argue with you about. So I'm in
You
agreement,
can't, 'cause
Teddy.
he's the worst one.
Teddy covers, ladies and gentlemen. I am Drew Martin. We will be back next Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Come back and join us. We got a first pitch coming up, $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com. All plays discounted to just $9. Check it out. Teddy covers, Drew Martin experts pages, plays up and available. Guys, best of luck with your bets. We'll talk next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.